But in teaching history, when I first came to the school, we did not have a textbook. We had an outline of the different subjects they wanted us to teach, and we were allowed to kind of like make our own curriculum, which I thought was dope. I was like, oh, this is my forte. Like, this is what I want to do. And then maybe a month and a half in, they hired a curriculum director, and she was like, no. And she brought in a textbook, and it was the same textbook for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
How does that work?
Right,
That's crazy.
right. And it was like American History 101, and they were calling enslaved people workers in the book, and they
Back
had,
then?
yeah.
I thought that was more recent.
This was 2017.
Okay, yeah, that was the same.
This is
That's
very
the same time I heard about it.
You gotta do a lot of translating.
Right.
Okay.
And so I'm like, this is wild. So I've always been passionate about history, but this made me very passionate. And I'm teaching across from Seneca Village, from Central Park. So I'm like, the ancestors are probably looking at me like, and
so you just gonna give them that book?
Right. So I started to go out and seek archival materials on my own. I would go to Brooklyn Historical Society, which is now the Center for Brooklyn History, owned by the New York Public Library, thank God.
Yes.
The Schomburg, I would go, I would call different spaces and just ask, like, hey, right now I'm teaching this subject, and I'm looking for letters, I'm looking for maps, I'm looking for narratives that my students can analyze and learn more about this movement from a more local perspective, right? Because when we talk about different movements, we often remove New York from the narrative. And I'm like, come on, let's not play that game. Like, everything the South was doing, y'all was doing too. You might have let go of it earlier, but you was doing it too.
It's not quite the safe haven that they marketed it as. Yeah.
And then, a lot of the prominent figures we talked about didn't look like the kids I was talking to. So I wanted to find your Samuel C. Anderson, second black man to own land in Brooklyn on Hunter Fly Road, which is now Kings Highway. And basically is the reason why Central Brooklyn is predominantly black. Once he bought that land, black folks just started moving in. And James Weeks, who Weeksville is named for, came after Samuel C. Anderson. People don't know that, right? So I wanted to bring his narrative to the classroom. I wanted to talk about Jackie Robinson, not just from a baseball perspective, but from a political perspective. A lot of people don't know about Jackie and his shift from Republican to Democrat and his sports writing to political writing. Like, I wanted to bring all of those things into the classroom when I was talking about those movements, but I didn't have access to the resources. Most of what you found online was summarized in some like secondary way. I was like, no, I want their voices. I want their artifacts. So I know it's a really long answer.
No. Let's get into it.
This is perfect.
I really, wanted to use that instead. So I started to rebel. Like, I would bring in my own curriculum, and the kids, and there's actually a term for it now. The book came out last year, I think, and it's by Jarvis Givens. It's called Fugitive Pedagogy. And he talked about how when Carter G. Woodson was giving out materials to schools, teachers were like teaching it under the desk. And the principals would come in, and they would like pretend like the kids would know, like, we're moving on to spelling. Like, well, meanwhile, they were learning, right? And so I remember reading that and going, oh my God, that's what I was doing. Because there were moments where I would teach kids things, and the principal would walk in, and I would switch what I was teaching, and the kids just knew. They were like, and, right?
Wow.
So we were doing fugitive pedagogy. Had no idea that's what we were doing.